Let me ask you something. Have you ever watched a man with everything in the world try to crush someone he thought was beneath him, and instead end up shrinking right there in front of everyone? Because that's what happened the night Ethan Caldwell, with all his billions and bravado, tried to humiliate his maid in front of a room full of power broker sand, wound up exposing his own ignorance instead. It was the kind of moment that crackles in the air, makes you hold your breath, and, if you're paying attention, teaches you everything you need to know about respect. You could feel the buzz before you even got close to the Caldwell estate. Not from the imported marble, the vineyards, or the line of luxury cars circling the drive, but from the electricity that comes with too much money in one room. Waiters drifted through the crowd like chess pieces, every tray of champagne sparkling under the chandeliers, every laugh a little louder than necessary. In the center of it all stood Ethan, broad-shouldered, $1 million suit, watch bright enough to blind you if you look too close. The kind of guy who doesn't just play the game, thinks he owns the board. People hung on his every word, feeding his ego with polite chuckles and empty toasts. Meanwhile, someone else was moving in the background, blending into the corners with practiced ease. Naomi Bennett. She wore her maid's uniform like armor, her hair pulled back, steps quiet and measured. She listened to snippets about yachts and Aspen and stocks, the sort of talk that used to be her world before life turned the tables and made her invisible. But you know what they say, life's funny that way. Sometimes you find yourself serving caviar to people who would have once begged to have you on their team. Naomi barely registered the stares, but tonight felt different. There was a sharpness in the air. Marcy, the head housekeeper, whispered orders about wine and dessert, but all Naomi could hear was Ethan, holding court about winners and losers, letting everyone know he'd made it by grit and guts alone. That kind of arrogance always grated on her nerves. She kept her head down, but her jaw clenched. You know the feeling when someone's so busy flexing, they don't even realize you've already been where they're trying to go. Then Ethan's eyes found Naomi. Not just a glance, but the kind of look that measures and weighs. Suddenly, the room stilled, voices dropping as Ethan called out, "You." Just like that, Naomi was center stage. Every head turned, the clatter of forks faded, and she stepped forward, tray in hand, shoulders squared. "What's your name?" he asked, voice sharp. "Naomi." The way he repeated it, you'd think it was an alien language. But the show was just beginning. Ethan reached into his suit, pulling out a worn piece of parchment old, yellowed, probably worth more than most people's cars. He held it up with a flourish, daring anyone to challenge him. Naomi saw it, and something in her tightened. She recognized the artifact, ancient, rare, something you'd see in a university lab, not a billionaire's parlor. But Ethan? He just saw an opportunity to show off. As he bragged about his latest investment, tossing out numbers like party favors, people started to shift. Not everyone in the room liked him, not really. There was Victoria Langston at the far end of the table, pearls, sharp eyes, whispering to her friend that Ethan loves to remind us he's the smartest guy here. And then there was the retired NBA star, quietly shaking his head. But Ethan pressed on, and as Naomi circled the room with desserts, she caught snippets of their unease. Back in the kitchen, Naomi tried to steady herself. She'd been a scholar once, a linguistics major, teaching languages most people couldn't even pronounce. But life had thrown her a curveball, a sick brother, bills that never stopped, dreams put on hold. She took the first job she could, promising herself it was temporary, but temporary has a way of becoming your whole life if you're not careful. The night marched on. Naomi delivered tiramisu. Ethan delivered another round of arrogance. Then, with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer, he made his move. "You've got steady hands," he called out, voice booming. "Bet you've done this 1,000 times, huh?" The room chuckled nervously. Naomi ignored him, but he wouldn't let it go. "Don't be shy, you're the star of the show right now." He pulled out the parchment again, brandishing it like a trophy. "Think you can make sense of this? Tell you what, Tief, you can translate it. I'll give you my entire annual salary." Laughter erupted, but the edge in his tone was clear. This wasn't about Funit, it was about putting her in her place. Naomi set her tray down, wiped her hands, and walked straight toward Ethan, every eye in the room following. "Your entire annual salary?" she asked, Cool as you please. You heard me. All of it. She looked at him, really looked, and then nodded. Hope you're not bluffing. He handed her the parchment, expecting her to falter. But what Ethan didn't know was that the language was old Aramco Naomi had mastered back when her life still made sense. She read aloud, voice steady, the words rolling out with perfect cadence. Then she translated for the crowd. Wisdom belongs not to those who boast of their riches, but to those who seek understanding. You could have heard a pin drop. The room froze. The arrogance drained from Ethan's face, replaced by something close to panic. The guests gawked, murmured, glanced at each other. Ethan tried to play it off, calling it a party trick, but Naomi shook her head. It's not a trick, she said, calm but unyielding. Someone asked what language it was. Aramaic, one of the oldest written languages. The retired ballplayer actually sat up, whispering, "No way." It was over for Ethan, and he knew it. The crowd didn't laugh this time. They looked at Naomi like they were seeing her for the first time. Ethan stammered, tried to save face. Seems I underestimated you. Naomi just nodded. You did. A woman near the front, curiosity shining in her eyes, asked, So why are you here? Naomi set the parchment down gently. Life isn't always what you plan. Sometimes you do what you have to, not what you want to. There was no bitterness, just truth. That truth hung in the air, heavier than anything Ethan could have bought. Ethan tried to joke about calling his accountant, but Naomi shook her head. Keep your money. I didn't do it for the money. You want to test me? I answered. That's all. For once, Ethan was speechless. The guests looked at Naomi with a new kind of respect, their earlier amusement replaced with awe. As the party fizzled, Ethan retreated to a corner, nursing his wounded pride, while the whispers started. She's extraordinary, Victoria told her friend. Can you imagine wasting talent like that in a job like this? Marcy watched from the doorway, hoping Ethan wouldn't take his embarrassment out on Naomi. But Naomi wasn't worried about that anymore. She slipped away to the pantry, finally letting the exhaustion of the night wash over her. She remembered the woman she used to be, the life she'd then tucked those memories away, as if she was packing up fragile china for another day. Ethan found her there, away from the crowd, and for the first time all night, the arrogance was gone. You embarrassed me, he said, almost quietly. That wasn't my intention, Naomi replied. Wasn't it? He shot back, but his voice wavered. You made me look like a fool. Naomi stood her ground. You did that yourself. Something in her tone, maybe the honesty, maybe the courage, stopped him. What's your story? He finally asked, the question softening him. Naomi told him the truth. Sometimes life takes more than you can give, and you do what you have to because quitting isn't an option. By the time the last car disappeared down the drive, the Caldwell mansion was silent, the echo of the night hanging heavy in the air. Naomi could have slipped away quietly, but she didn't. She found Ethan by the grand piano, no longer the master of ceremonies, just a man wrestling with the truth. He offered help, a job, an introduction. Naomi smiled, tired but strong. Thank you. But this isn't about favors. It's about remembering that everyone has a story you know nothing about. As she walked out into the cool night, Naomi's head was high. She knew what Ethan and everyone in that room had learned. Never judge a person by the uniform they wear or the job they do. People carry worlds inside them, stories of strength and heartbreak and resilience. All you owe them is respect. And if you think you're better than someone just because you're richer or louder, well, you're the fool, not them. Now, let me throw it to you. When was the last time you looked past someone's title or uniform to see the real person inside? Who do you think truly had the power that night, Ethan or Naomi? Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about what respect, dignity, and justice really mean.